Israel is looking into how a Hezbollah drone entered the country without triggering an alert. The attack killed 4 soldiers and injured more than 60 other people Sunday. The strike hit an army base about 40 miles from the Lebanese border. Israeli officials say it was one of the bloodiest attacks on Israel since the war began last October. This comes as Israeli bombardments in Gaza killed over 40 people yesterday, including 13 children. The head of emergency services in Gaza says that in the past 10 days, that Israel's strikes on the Jabalia refugee camp has killed at least 300 people. Sending troops to Israel along with an advanced anti-missile system. The Pentagon says it'll send what's called a terminal high-altitude area defense system to Israel. About 100 U.S. troops will also be deployed to operate it. This is the first time American troops are being sent to the Middle East during the war. There's no word on when they will arrive. A hospital in Gaza, meantime, says an explosion early this morning killed 3 people and injured dozens. Video shows Palestinian authorities working to put out fire and rush people to shelter. The explosion follows an Israeli airstrike yesterday that killed at least 20 people.
And it's happening right now in the WRAL Live Center this morning. We are learning Iran says it did not have any prior knowledge of the October 7th attacks in Israel. They say they did not take part in that assault. And this is all in response by reports from the New York Times and Washington Post saying that Hamas has secret documents seized by Israeli forces. The reports show that Hamas discussed the planned attacks in advance and asked Iran and Hezbollah to take part, but Iran said any of those claims come from fabricated documents. They are not true.
Today, fresh carnage in the Gaza Strip. Palestinian health officials said 3 Israeli airstrikes throughout Gaza killed dozens of people and injured hundreds more, sending a blaze through a camp for displaced people in a hospital courtyard. Overnight, sirens and missiles on Israel's northern front with Lebanon. A drone strike by Hezbollah evaded Israel's anti-air systems yesterday, killing 4 Israeli soldiers and injuring more than 60 in one of the deadliest attacks in Israel since October 7th last year. The IDF spokesman said, "We'll learn from this event, improve, and move forward." It comes as the U.S. is deepening its role in the conflict with the first major troop deployment since the war began. The Pentagon announcing yesterday it will send one of its most advanced missile defense systems, along with about 100 troops to operate it, to Israel to protect against any further missile attacks from Iran. Meanwhile, peacekeepers in Lebanon now coming under Israeli fire. 2 Israeli tanks rammed a UN base in southern Lebanon after demanding last week the UN force, called UNIFIL, leave the border areas with Israel. But the peacekeepers stood their ground. Yesterday, Israel's prime minister addressed the UN directly.
Mr. Secretary General, get the UNIFIL forces out of harm's way. It should be done right now, immediately.
Israeli attacks have injured more than a dozen UN troops over the past week.
Do you feel as though some of these incidents might be retaliation for UNIFIL's decision to hold their ground?
We were asked to leave from all these positions close to the blue line, and immediately after, a few days later, our peacekeepers and our positions were targeted, and targeted not because there was an ongoing exchanges of fire.
Turning keepers of peace into casualties of war.